Today is Friday, May 14th, and we are starting Unit 5 with special right triangles with a review on Pythagorean theorem. So Jaden, we're back in the blue packet on the front page. So we're using Pythagorean theorem, and we need to be able to manipulate this equation to find what we don't know. So understand that A and B are the legs. It doesn't matter which leg you call A or B. So this is going to be an important process that we're going to use to find our factors in the calculator. So let's show that real quick. So if we're looking at our calculator, oops, that's not what I was trying to do. Stop it. There we go. It's being stubborn. Let me move this over some. So if I type, go to y equals, clear whatever is there, 261 divided by x. And then I go second graph to pull up the table. When I'm looking through my table, I'm looking for whole numbers, and I'm looking for perfect squares, really. So 3 and 87, that's not doing anything for me. But looky there, 9 and 29 are factors. So that's how I got 3 root 29, because this was 9 times 29, and the square root of 9 is 3. Does everybody understand how I did that? So if you get stuck, or with those bigger 3-digit numbers, or really any number if you're just not sure, use the calculator and the table to help you find factors. Did everybody see how I did that? Whatever the number is, divide by x. So here for these, if I put this in, because I can put that all in exactly the way it is. So if I have second square root, not right there, quit, go back. Second square root, 17 squared plus 7 squared, 18.38. Does everybody understand why I had to subtract to find the leg? Any questions about that part? Okay, so if I put that in the calculator, second square root 25 squared minus 22 squared, 11.87. Let's scoot this over. Oh, I knew it was going to do something stupid. That's okay. Equals 11.87. Questions on those two? All right, moving on. Word problems. So I set these up for you to try and make this a little easier. So now all we need to do is put what's AB is equal to in the calculator. Don't square it and round and go back, because if I go in, let's look at why that changes things. Let's slide this, or just slide it this way, and then put the calculator over here. Okay, so if I do 34 squared, and then I do, and these are going to be, and I do 41 squared, and then I add those together, and then I take the square root. You see how many steps that is? 2, 8, 3, 7. We do all that work instead of second square root 34 squared plus 41 squared to get the same exact thing. Make the calculator do the work. So AB, if we're rounding 2 places, 53.26. 53.26. Yes? All right, so let's do 2 together because I want this as a simplified radical. So if we're going to do a simplified radical, I don't want to include the square root. I just want to put what is under the square root. So what is 90 squared plus 90 squared? And we get 16,200. So looking at this number, I know that 2 zeros on the end means that I can divide this by 100, right? So if we divide by 100, we get, let's move this out of the way. And it's being stubborn too. So this equals 16,200, which is 162 times 100. 100 is a perfect square, right? So now we're just dealing with 162. So in our calculator, y equals, clear that, 162 divided by x. Go to the table. 2 times 81. 81 is a perfect square, right? So then if I rewrite this again, 2 times 81 times 100, and then I can take the root of my perfect squares. So 2 is going to have to stay. Square root of 81 is 9. Square root of 100 is 10. My final answer is 90 root 2. Does everybody understand how I did that? So did we understand how we got this part? Why we have x equals the square root of 90 squared plus 90 squared? So I wanted a simplified radical. So because I want to keep the square root, we're not going to want a decimal. I don't want a decimal. So we had to use our calculator to find factors. So looking at it from there, do you understand how we got from how 16,200 is 162 times 100? And we know that 100 is a perfect square. And then I use my calculator to find that 81 and 2. So then when I take the roots, I get 9 and 10 on the outside, and 2 has to stay. Does that make sense now? A little better? Does anybody have questions on how I did that? Okay, so I want you guys to do those last 3 on your own, but we're not going to focus on it right now. So this is something that we'll come back to on Monday. I want us to practice with these. So if you didn't get these notes copied yet, open the file in Canvas. And make sure we get them copied, and let's jump down. So make sure you get those copied, but I want us to jump down to the part where it says the ones I want you to do so that we can do them together. So you guys can see how they're worked out. So the try these, I think this is the last page. Yeah, so the very last page of the packet. So again, this is just the first 2 lessons of Unit 5. We'll get the other part of our packet next week. So we've still got, we'll do a little bit more with the special right triangles, and then trig ratios and angle of elevation and depression. So I need to put this somewhere. Okay. So when we're looking at these proportions, let's look at this one over here. So I'm given my short leg. So the first thing to identify is what sides of what are we doing? This is the last page. So if we're given the short leg, we know that our short leg is half the hypotenuse because this 30, 60, 90 is an equilateral triangle that has been cut in half. So the base is half the hypotenuse. And then we would have to multiply the long leg, x, by the square root of 3. So it's going to be important for us to memorize this. And we start out by just writing this part. So we know 30, 60, 90. The short leg is half the hypotenuse. The long leg is the short leg times the square root of 3. That's what you do first. You set it up. And then you match what you have. So that is the baseline. And then you put the values that you're given as the denominator. So here when we cross multiply, so I can't cross multiply these because I have two variables. I need to use this one that I don't have so that I have the top and bottom so I can actually solve this. So if I cross multiply, x equals 6 root 3. So then if x equals 6 root 3, when I cross multiply again, I get y root 3 equals 12 root 3, because 2 times 6, and then divide. So I just get 12. So sometimes going from the long leg to the hypotenuse is confusing, but if we use the short leg and the hypotenuse as our ratio, let me come off to the side here. So if I used 1 over 6 equals 2 over y, then we just get y equals 12 in one step. So when we throw in those square roots, it does get a little weird. But we have to know that when I have this root on both sides, it's going to cancel out. It's going to simplify. I won't say cancel. It equals 1. So it doesn't just cancel and disappear. So I'm not going to ask if you have questions because I know you do. That was the first example on a new concept. So let's do a couple more. Second one, if I do the cross multiplication here, y equals 8 root 3. Now, if I don't want to deal with root 3 at all, I can use those two. I can do 1 over 8 equals 2 over x to get x equals 16. So this is the long leg, 8 root 3, and the hypotenuse is 2 times the short leg, 16. The hypotenuse is 2 times the short leg, which is 12, and the long leg times the square root of 3. It's just a pattern that we have to get in the flow of memorizing. So this one, on your whiteboards, show me if we have 30, 60, 90, 1, 2, and root 3, what goes in the denominator? Just show me what goes in the denominator for each of those. Remember, the long leg is opposite 60 degrees. The hypotenuse is opposite 90 degrees. I need to see the top part. Write the whole thing out. 30, 60, 90, 1, root 3, 2. If we're trying to use shortcuts here, this is gonna, we're gonna make some mistakes. Not quite. No, not quite. Guys, we need to look at, if this is 30 degrees, the side opposite 30 degrees is the short leg. If this is my right angle, the side opposite that is the hypotenuse. If this is 30 and this is 60, or if this is 30 and this is 90, this has to be 60. So this is the long leg. Now we're getting it. So this should be short leg is X, long leg is Y, hypotenuse is 10 root 7. So you have to be able to, the first thing we should be able to identify is the hypotenuse, always across from 90 degrees. Joseph, wake up. So if I have X and Y here, I can't use those two to start with. I'm going to need to find, it's going to be easiest to find the short leg and the hypotenuse because my short leg is half the hypotenuse, right? So if I set this up, 1 over X equals 2 over 10 root 7. Cross multiply, 2X equals 10 root 7. Divide by 2. X equals 5 root 7. So if X equals 5 root 7, now I can use this ratio and this ratio to find Y. So I have 1 over 5 root 7 equals the square root of 3 over Y. Cross multiply, Y equals 5 root 7 times the square root of 3, which gives me 5 root 21. Oops, sorry. So X is 5 root 7. Y is 5 root 21. And then the hypotenuse was already given. So we're going to stop there. The page I gave you at the beginning of class will be warm up Monday. So we'll finish the rest of the problems in the blue packet and the white page Monday. Your homework is the green packet. Make sure you bubble the appropriate numbers. So I'm not going to have to try you guys to do this independently after that. So we'll do the rest of those together. This is your homework. Okay, 26 questions.